Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another session of our weekly guided reflections, where we're going to take about 40 to 50 minutes out of our day to think more about our life and ourselves. Ask simple questions to get us to think more about the actions we want to take moving forward and how we can be more intentional and precise in how we live. So, thank you for being here. Why don't we start, like usual, with some very fundamental exercises, and that's breathing. Right? You know how to breathe. I know how to breathe. So we're going to set 5 minutes aside, and we're just going to focus on our breath. We can close our eyes, and if thoughts come, just let them pass. We're just going to concentrate on breathing in and out. This is so fundamental, right? The alarm sound is so jarring. Okay. Grab a piece of paper or a notebook, whatever you typically like to write and reflect with. You know, if you're just listening to this and you aren't in a position to be writing, be thinking, even say it out loud and stuff. We're here with you. I like this notebook that I journal in. Why don't we begin with the question, what are we grateful for? Let's start there. Start at the beginning. What are we grateful for? Man, this pen is slick. There's been so many variances of this pen. This one's real smooth. I'm grateful for it. Yeah, it's been quite a process to find the right pens for me. I've always been pretty protective of my pens. There's a long stretch where I only had two. I only had two pens. I didn't lose them. I refilled them. But now it's just not the style that I prefer. I prefer these gold ones. That was a big deal to me because I have this color coordinated system. Just cuts down my decision making and reduces my consumption overall. Navy blue, dark red, brown, gold, a little bit of gray. We stay within that framework. And the last thing of my persons was this pen that was silver and black. And it just bothered me so much. So I was looking and found these on Amazon. Like 6 of them for $12. This isn't discussed enough. If you know what you're looking for and you know what you like, Amazon is the greatest company that exists. You can find what you want and it can be delivered in less than 2 days. I know Amazon is controversial as a company, but you know, that's your choice as a consumer whether or not to shop there. You can't just say, well, they're so convenient and then continue to shop there and be mad. You know what I mean? You kind of have to take a stand. And my stand is that I really appreciate Amazon. I'm so fascinated by the operations. You can find anything. And then it can be shipped to you, delivered to you in 2 days. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. This next question, I want you to think about animals. Think about a recent interaction with an animal. What was that like? Did you feel they were trying to communicate to you? And if not to you, were they communicating in general to the world or other animals? Did you notice any difference and variance in their movements, sounds? As an example, we have a cat, like a 1-year-old cat that lives in this apartment. And I pick up so much from this animal. It's so interesting. Like, during this recording, my roommate is in her room working remotely and has her door closed. And when the cat Latte tries to get in, she changes the tone of her meows. It's this real, just soft and cute and just amazing, seductive sound. It's like, oh. And she does that to try to get in. Other times, she meows in different tones. But it's not just that. With animal communication or just animal movement, I observe how much Latte stretches. And then I see her. Oh, here she is. Latte. Now she knows we're talking about her, and she's over here on the windowsill. But I notice how much she stretches, and then she can jump and move, from the ground to this table in one leap. She leaped from the floor to the windowsill. No problems, no noise. I think it's really impressive. Cats are impressive creatures. I was recording with Kat Kennedy, and she works at NASA, and so I'm asking her questions about NASA and space exploration, and Latte knows that we're talking and is curious, and she just is walking back and forth during this recording, this conversation. So embarrassing, but it's so funny. So I think it's interesting how we can observe animals, kind of ask, okay, what emotion are they communicating right now? Or like, what do they want? Or how are they conducting themselves in a way? So I observe the stretching and how agile this animal is. And it's like, I should probably stretch a little bit more. So then I incorporate more stretching. Really big with staging. When she wants attention, she'll just go right in front of you. Whereas dogs, they'll be very direct. They'll bark, they'll come right up to you, they touch you. Cats just kind of place themselves in your peripheral vision and get you to react. So you can do that. I do that in public. You can stage a situation. Right, Latte? Yeah, it's really interesting. So, anyways, what's a recent interaction with an animal, and what did you observe? Man, we could do a whole episode on latte. Where'd she go? See, they're so quiet. You can't even... Man. What a predator. They can come and go. You don't even hear them, notice them. Okay, enough about cats. Let's think about something we're not great at. But what's a recent moment where you've put effort into overcoming that or just getting through it? And how did you feel afterwards? For example, yesterday, I spent the day focused on more logistical tasks that I hate. And oftentimes I put them off because they're so mundane, so small, and so boring, and so not creative that I will put them off or create pain inside my body and mind before even doing it. But yesterday I just sat down and then boom, 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 boom. Got through these logistical tasks. So think of something you don't enjoy doing. But when you completed it, how did you feel? Because I felt amazing after doing all these things and completing them. I felt more relief and satisfaction than doing things I enjoy. And it can be that way sometimes. We get the most pleasure and satisfaction after doing something we hate doing. Yeah, it was rainy, cloudy, a chilly spring day. I already hate this day. Why don't I just do things I hate doing? So I did it, and I felt great. And now it's a sunny day. The next day is beautiful. And I can focus on things I enjoy doing. Cheers to that. I'd like you to pause for a moment and just listen. How many sounds can you identify, and what are they? So just pause for a moment and just listen, observe. What sounds are you hearing and what are they? How many are there? So right now I'm in a high rise in Chicago. I hear birds. My window's open. I hear birds. I hear traffic from Lakeshore Drive, which is maybe a quarter mile away. Between a quarter mile, a half mile. By the park, by the lake. I can hear sounds from below, people talking. I'm on the 9th floor. I can hear all the way down to what people are saying on the 1st floor. It's a little difficult to make it out, but little beeps from cars. But something that's really surprising is I can hear airplanes. I can hear the dumpster. That's most surprising though. From where I'm sitting in a high rise, the window open, I can hear airplanes. Isn't that interesting? Imagine being right next to it. So what sounds did you hear? How many sounds have you heard? I think it's also interesting how often our mind doesn't focus on those noises. It's like whatever we give our attention to, that's where the most energy is, or that's where that's what we give the most weight to, right? So if we're focusing on something, giving it attention, everything else has such little weight, has just such little impact on our mind. But if we think more externally and not what we're doing in front of us, and we let our mind focus on, a family issue that's going on, or a personal issue, or this or that, then this becomes a lot more difficult, the thing right in front of us, right? So it's a matter of like shifting and transitioning energy to what we want to focus on most. identifying that and pinpoint, precision. Just think about this today. What do we want to give our attention to today? What do we want on the forefront of our mind? So a human being, at any given second, takes in 40,000 bits of information. So at any given second, a human being It's really interesting. At any given second, a human being can receive 40,000 bits of information, but it can only focus on 40 bits. It can only be conscious of 40 bits of information. So there's so much that our body is sensing that we're not consciously aware of. So I think there's examples where you experience something like more than 3 times. And then say that 5th time, you consciously were like, that's a thing that's happening. It's a good example. Say an example I can think of is so you go past something, you drive past something, say a billboard. On your way to work every day, or school, or it's just on your drive to the things that you do. And then one day you're like, that billboard always been red? But you become kind of conscious of it. You've seen it, and then you focus on it. It's like shoes. Go about everyday life, and you look at people's shoes. And you gather kind of this information. You're not focusing on people's shoes, but then at some point, at least for me, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of flat-soled shoes, more than non-flat-soled shoes. So this means something bigger. There's like a trend going on. So you can pick up information that way, if that makes sense. So it's an example of information is always around us. And it's where we give our attention to that we become conscious of that information. And that's the importance of just being clear, like the stuff we're doing, just breathing. breathing, emptying our mind so that we can absorb the information around us, right? Because it can help us probably more long-term to better understand the world we're in, the environment we're in. Whereas if we give our attention to things in our head, the family issue, the personal issue, this thing going on, that thing going on, we miss the information around us because our attention is here rather than here. And so we can't grow as much. We can't adapt to what's happening. It's sort of the fundamentals of this approach. I've learned it through Phil Jackson. He was the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Los Angeles Lakers, and won 11 NBA titles. Kobe, Michael, the whole bunch. But that was the approach of how they play. Let's clear our minds, be calm, centered, so that on the court, we can just observe what's happening and react to it. A lot of times the players during the game, we're thinking about things that aren't here right now. How many points are we going to score? Thinking about, our bonus if, we average X amount of points per game. Oh, I need more rebounds. Or what's going on after this game? Oh, look at that person in the stands, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I missed that last shot. Stuff like that, right? I missed my last shot. Then you're in your head, things like that. Whereas if you're clear, you can make better decisions. It's very simple. And you're adjusting and playing off of what is here. So if you walk into a classroom, we want to be present and give our attention to what is here, what is around us, who's here, how are they dressed, what's their nonverbal communication like, what's on the walls. Like there's a lot of information in any given space. So it's important to have a clear mind, be present, and give our attention to that moment and space. So like attention right now. It's the weekly dumpster emptying. And so there's a lot of noise. But we're here in this space. And that's what matters. You matter. Let's give our attention now to the last feeling of relief that we experienced. When was the last time we felt exhalation? Not just in our breathing and that, but more so because of an effort we put in, or a day, maybe for a test with school. I remember taking tests and then finishing them, and just be this relief. It's just off my mind. It's the best feeling, right? The last day of school. So what's a recent moment you experienced, just that relief? What was all involved? What were you working on? What kind of day was it? What space were you in when you felt that? Exhalation. God, last day of school feeling? Whew. It's like, why? Why does that change our physiology? Right? We can physically feel different based on an event, a thing that happened, just a time. Last day of school, is it because of all the work we put in and all the day-to-day getting up early, then, going through that routine and that process, and now that's done, we take a break? Or is it, now I get to experience summer and you're thinking about all these possibilities with warm weather and friends and family and activities? Is it a combination of both? But why is it that feeling? Why do you get that feeling, right? That changes your body. It's not nothing, right? It's profound. It changes how we think and how we proceed and our disposition with all the interactions, all the decisions we make after that. It shouldn't be taken lightly, right? We're coming up on time shortly. So we'll do like 2 more questions. Let's think. I've been listening to the Beatles circa 64. I've been really giving my attention to the Beatles like 1963, 64, 65. Watching interviews, I'm watching performances, I'm listening to the music on Spotify. It's studying it. Such an interesting time in the world, and there's an energy and a joy and a newness. So I'd like you to think about a feeling you want to have. What is a feeling you want to experience? It could be joy. It could be positive energy. Now, I prefer you think of, feelings on a more positive scale. Because you can find negative feelings too, of course. But I want to think that what kind of feeling do you want to have? And what music do you imagine can help you get closer to that feeling? Right? You want to give your attention to that feeling, that emotion. What music artist can help you do that? Do you want to feel more calm? Do you want to feel more motivated? You want to feel more cared for, loved? Think about that emotion, that feeling you would like, and then connect it with music. What music do you want to, or what music fits with that? So for me, I'm thinking joy, just newness, just kind of like an explosion of newness, excitement, energy. I was watching this performance, 1964. February 11th. Beatles are in Washington, D.C. So they came over, they flew from London to New York, February 7th. February 9th, they're on the Ed Sullivan show. Ed Sullivan-ish. So the Beatles come over from London, New York, February 7th. February 9th, they're on Ed Sullivan. And this explosion. But then 2 days later, they're in DC, and they performed again on the Ed Sullivan show, pre-recorded, and then they were also in, I believe, Miami, and they did another performance. But anyways, this performance on the 11th, I'm watching it, and it's so simple. You think about the shows today with music, and there's so much pageantry and so much everything except the music and performance in a way. There was so much simplicity. You just have an arena, you have a stage, and after the songs, they're in the middle. They have to rotate the drum set and then face another part of the crowd. And then they all have wires and their guitars are hooked up. And I'm friends with an audio engineer, really successful audio engineer, works works every week at a venue here in Chicago, works with the Smashing Pumpkins. Like, I'll never forget the conversation we had. It's not about, we were talking about recording. It's not about the expensive instruments and the recording setup and the studio and the this and that. It's what is being recorded. That's the number one thing. What is being recorded? And this performance, I'm watching it on YouTube with the Beatles. There are times where their mics hardly work. You can't even hear them. There's so much screaming, and the recording itself kind of, it hits up against the speakers. It doesn't sound good, but it doesn't matter. I'll watch that more than any other of these crisp, perfectly produced whatever, because it doesn't matter. It's about what is being recorded, the importance of it, the energy from it. What is happening? What is happening in this recording, right? And there's that performance by the Beatles in 1964 just carries so much weight. It's something so new. When I watched it the first time, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was an explosion of, you could feel the gravity of the moment. And there's not many recordings, there's not many performances that can do that. And just the flow of how they were on stage, just having fun. And everybody just moved by the music. So I'm reading this book, Joy and Fear, about the Beatles, and it looks at the Beatles and their careers through the prism of the city of Chicago. And I'm at the beginning of that. And just all these different things just kind of adding up to this kind of moment. And I can feel it through the screen. I can feel those emotions that we talked about, right? For me, energy, joy, fun, newness just jumps out. So think of an artist and some music, some songs that do that for you. You know, what are you trying to feel? What are you trying to experience? Place yourself in that moment. You know, like, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Get some help from different sources, you know? Our last question for this session: what are you energized for today? What are you energized for today? Me? I'm so grateful that I did all the things I don't enjoy doing yesterday during the chilly, rainy spring day. And now today, I'm doing things I do enjoy on this sunny, beautiful spring day. And so after this recording, I'm gonna go downtown and just walk around, hang out. I'm gonna go to the Art Institute for a little bit. The member lounge has fastest Wi-Fi in the city, and from what I've tested. So I like to do file organization there, do some editing, but then just walk around the parks, just be around the energy of the people. A lot of tourists in the area, and I just love seeing all the smiles on people's faces. They're energized to be here, right now. And that's something I don't think we consider enough, is being energized for where you are, right here, this moment. Everything has led to this moment and you being in this space. Like, be present, enjoy that, or like lean into it, you know? It's part of the journey. Someone took a journey from, India to come to Chicago, and they had visions in their head of what it would be like. But then they're in front of the bean, and they see that, and then the architecture, and the flowers, and the spring, and the lake, and just the smell, and the freshness. I think it's beautiful. So, thank you for being here this week. This has been another weekly guided reflection session. Do these each week just to get us to pause from life, take a moment to think about our life and ourselves, so that moving forward we can be more precise, more intentional in our actions and decisions that we make. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.